Yeah, you switch one setting in a different thing, and all of a sudden the mic's not enabled. Oh no! Oh man. So I need to get it figured out so that we can hear the feedback, so that we're not caught off guard by when that comes around. But it's okay. In the meantime, it's a cool effect. That's all good. Johnny X, that was Hexavalent by our fan Penrose, who you know.
Good lad.
Good lad. Good lad. A mighty lad. Hailing from the far-off lands of... He didn't live in Colorado. No, Johnny. Someone else lives in... Johnny lives in Colorado. I forget.
Someone lives in Colorado.
I think it's Arizona. Anyway.
Well, guys, welcome to Video Game Talk right here on the Video Game
Network.
We got an amazing amount of content to talk about today. As usual, we'll cover as much as we can.
I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I guess that really depends on how much we linger on each topic.
So, as you know...
yeah, right. There we go.
We'll talk for about 40-50 minutes and then save the last 10 to 20 minutes for your live questions, although we may answer questions as we go because
we've gotten a little lax about that, so we'll see. If we got going on a topic though, then we'll do that. But that's all good. Also, we don't have Super Chat enabled yet, do we?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But
okay.
That will hopefully become a thing soon because we got to get it to 1,000 subs. Tell your friends to subscribe.
Yeah, right.
To
we
the
need.
Video Game
man,
Network.
just that real quick reminder that subs. We need subs. Thank you. Starting a new channel is hard, even if you have a really successful channel, because sometimes people don't come over. But anyway,
yeah.
Let's
get
talk
right into
video games.
Yeah.
the show, the thing.
It was like waiting between your snaps. Let's get into it.
Oh, there we go. All right.
So lots of things happen. I wanted to open up with this fun little tidbit. Like it was like last week or like the week before, we were talking about like Wreck-It Ralph and video game movies. I think that was actually the last one that we did for the Richovers channel. We were talking about Wreck-It Ralph.
We did, yeah. That was a good. I had a good time talking about that one.
Yeah. So we were talking about like the difference between like a movie that is based directly on a specific video game and something like Wreck-It Ralph or Pixels, where it kind of takes a lot of video game ideas and kind of turns it into its own movie. And funny enough, Jumanji, even though it took that Jumanji IP, that was a video game movie because it took a lot of ideas from video games and threw it into that video game version of Jumanji. And I actually think that that might be my favorite video game movie so far. I really like the second Jumanji film. So let's talk about Tomb Raider. We talked a little bit about Tomb Raider.
We did talk about Tomb Raider because we were really hoping that I guess we're kind of still holding out hope a bit, you know, that Tomb Raider is going to, give us a new breath into what has been the direct video game remake sort of thing. We see a lot of movies about video games succeeding. We see Wreck-It Ralph as, a chief example of that. But Wreck-It Ralph isn't set in a video game universe. Yeah. It's just kind of a movie about video games, which I'm great with. I really love Wreck-It Ralph tremendously. But, it begs the question of, like, can a movie directly rooted in the universe of a video game succeed? And Tomb Raiders are,
it's the newest example.
It's our newest example, for sure.
Video game movies have had a bad history of mediocrity, where it's like there are some, like Mortal Kombat, where they're not good movies by any standard.
In fact, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is so bad that it carries... for context, I love watching Mortal Kombat Annihilation because it is so trash. It's so bad that that's part of the experience. Yeah. Also, I do have a soft spot for media that's kind of like unapologetically itself. Yeah. That's just so like in your face about the idea of like, here I am, I'm a bad movie, this is overacted, that's bad CGI. Like, and it's just drips with B-movie. Yeah. There's a lot to be enjoyed in that. Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so there are some like that, and like the original Super Mario Bros. Movie that are just, they're not good, but I think they're kind of fun, especially those older 90s ones, because they kind of have that 90s cheese that I like to enjoy sometimes. Right. But for the most part, even recent examples,
we are a bit guilty of infusing that in our own
of course,
video game movies, if you can call them that.
Yeah, but like even recent examples like Assassin's Creed, there's just something about, like, there's this barrier, and I think that it's because we're still kind of trickling out the people in Hollywood that didn't really grow up with video games, because you can get a good director in there that like knows video games, but the producers and the executives and everybody in the studio are still like thinking old media, and they're still thinking like before 1990. And you know, they haven't quite wrapped around what makes video games good for their stories yet, and they're like, oh, you know, they kind of like pick and choose what they think is popular.
They want to like apply movie formulas to video game universes, and we end up with this kind of like Frankenstein's monster mishmash.
The Resident Evil movies are infamous for this, because they're like, here's zombie dogs, you like zombie dogs, right? Here's the lickers, you like
that. Okay. Listen to that. There you go.
So I was just saying, yeah, like they take all these things in video game movies that they think we'll enjoy, and like, oh, this will stick. But it's like, where's the mansion? Where's Chris Redfield?
Oh yeah, we did disconnect.
Yeah, so I don't know how long that was.
That was very quick. Okay, fair enough. Let's
but my
going.
Point is, it's been bad. So the question for a lot of us these past few months has been, will the Tomb Raider movie finally dig us out of that ditch and deliver a video game movie based on a specific video game, guys? And actually be a decent movie with a talent like Alicia Vikander? You would think that they were thinking about a A+ movie here. So the verdict from across the board, if you guys aren't privy to it already, is that her performance is good.
Yeah.
And she does a good job doing what she was given. However, just something with the pacing and the way that it plots ahead.
Yeah, it's full disclaimer, we have not seen this movie yet.
We haven't seen it. I'm just giving you the lowdown of what people have said.
Yeah, we are not press.
Right, we're not press.
We are just guys on YouTube.
And yeah, in our neighborhood, this movie isn't shown to anyone until like half an hour from now. So we haven't even had the opportunity to see it. But just letting you guys know what people have been saying. And yeah, it's just, you know, she's good, but there's flaws in the pacing, and, you know, like, she solves puzzles like Lara Croft does, but it never feels like we're solving it with her. She just kind of like solves it, and it kind of moves ahead. It's like, well, wait, they didn't really explain how she got from A to B here, and, you know, problems with that. And there's just like one very glaring thing, and I know that this would really bother me too, is that Lara Croft has always spoken with a very heavily English accent, and when they have flashbacks, the little girl is speaking in an English accent, but Alicia Vikander has a Dutch accent, and she didn't try to do an English accent as Lara Croft. And it's just kind of like, it just doesn't really work, and I can see how that wouldn't work for me, because I would expect Lara Croft to speak in that high Wales accent, you know.
Yeah, that's always been her thing. She's been old British money. That's like the shtick.
Yeah, so there's that.
She's an old she's like an old money Brit with just time and money on her hands to go solve the world's mysteries.
Right. That's like not that big of a deal. It's one of those like cosmetic issues that just bugs me for some reason.
Yeah, that one's just annoying. Yeah. That one won't kill a movie.
But as far as the movie itself goes, so anyways, I'll let you guys know, like the two guys, it was actually a girl and a guy, Perry Nemiroff and John Roca, the guys over at Collider, and you know, Collider is very they've become very respected.
We hold Collider in pretty high regard because they're consistently pretty objective.
Yeah, they're pretty objective. They've started like putting Collider like in commercials for movies. Like Collider gave it 4 out of 4. Like people are starting to notice and respect the guys at Collider.
They're definitely reaching a level of legitimacy, which is cool. Good on them. They deserve it. They've worked very hard.
Both of them, Perry and John Roca, gave it a 6 out of 10.
Right.
Which is not good. It's
also to compound IGN's review, which gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, slightly worse score. And IGN was a little less favorable in their pros of the movie.
Right.
So,
which is fascinating, because you think if anybody was going to give a video game movie a break, it would probably be IGN and not Collider.
Maybe, or they're harsher on it because they're looking for
You know what? Fair point. I was almost thinking that IGN would go into it like, all right, I want this to be good. I want this to succeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to be probably the most familiar, at least in terms of, you know, consistent reviewing material with video games.
Yeah. So we look at IGN and we're looking at Collider because IGN is looking at it as a video game movie property, and Collider's just looking at it as a movie. And as you can see across the board, it's just, this movie is just very mediocre. I mean, I'm still probably going to see it tomorrow morning because that's when I planned to see it.
Yeah, we'll see it.
And then, you know, maybe I'll do a bonus video tomorrow or something where I kind of give, like, my last 2 cents on it. Oh, look for that. Or don't.
Or don't.
But the point...
You'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll see it.
Or you won't. So, I'll do it eventually whenever I see the movie. But the point is, it's mediocre, and unfortunately, this guy's, I mean, we as fans, we can only like it so much, but if the critics are only right there, then that's pretty much where this movie's going to sit.
If I have to devil's advocate you for a minute, I will say that, although I'm going to in turn kind of disprove my own point at the end of this, I will say that critics in general across the board have always been very harsh on video game movies.
They have, yeah.
And I think that a lot of that comes down to a lot of unexplained context. A lot of video game viewers, a lot of people who are, are avid players of certain series, are going to come in to a video game movie with a lot of sort of like predisposed backstory. So some things that go unexplained, some little minute actions. There's some subtleties that a video game player can enjoy that a critic wouldn't as much. So sometimes that can result in a better overall experience. But, if I have to turn around a devil's advocate myself, I would say the reviews that at least we are basing a lot of our predispositions off of are IGN, which is literally a gaming network composed of mostly gaming and comic-related media. That's kind of their shtick. And although, they have had some mixed history with being kind of biased in the past, I don't see that being, kind of a factor in this particular review.
Nobody paid them to write this review.
Yeah, it's evident by the fact that it's glaringly honest, unless someone paid them to write a bad review. But, well, they don't win any awards for journalistic integrity. I'm not ready to overtly call them out as a corrupt corporation. Meanwhile, Collider, very objective. Very strong. And, another group of kind of nerdy people who I'm sure, even though they're movie people, are familiar with.
Oh, yeah. Perry has definitely played the game. So
yeah.
she knows.
So, that's a little damning. Yeah. I will say that. Critics in general have been very harsh on a lot of these games so much, and we as gamers can take away a lot of extra context, as I kind of mentioned, to these games. But the fact that we've got two pretty consistent reviews citing similar opinions about similar issues from critics that we know have at least a root in a level of our kind of subjectivity and a root of our culture is that's worth that's worth digesting at the very least. So we'll see. I'm bummed because as with any video game movie, I hope for that day where they're just like handing an Oscar to somebody who acted in a video game movie and everyone's like, what happened?
Well, we're still waiting. I mean, I think it's going to be a while before we see anything out of video games, but we're still waiting for a comic book movie to get like best screenplay, best director, best picture.
Right.
I feel like that's a little bit closer maybe than video game movies. It
for sure is. I mean,
I appreciate all movies and I like a lot of the stuff that does end up winning Oscars,
right.
But for by the way, in case you didn't know, this was the lowest ratings ever for Oscars this year. Like nobody tuned in. And when I say nobody, I mean still millions of people tuned in, but not as many as usual.
Least successful really Oscars in a long time.
And it's because across the board, the best pictures, most people didn't see them. I think the highest grossing movie was Get Out with 200 million or something.
Yeah, Get Out was really solid. It was awesome. I don't want to get into this an Oscars tangent.
Really quick here,
but I am so happy Jordan Peele took away that.
He got best screenplay.
Oh, yes, it's so good.
I was really hoping he'd get the best director one, too, but considering that Guillermo del Toro had never won it before, I think he deserved it for Shape of Water.
Right, Shape of Water and Get Out were basically the two that I saw got lit up, and I was like, sweet.
But the funny thing is, they opened it up a few years ago. It used to be, like everything else, it used to be a category of 5. They opened it up to a category of 10 for Best Picture to try to get in some of those more mainstream movies to get more people to watch the Oscars. And what happened? They just nominated 5 more art house pictures.
They did.
So the Oscars needs to revamp itself. All I'm saying is going to be forever or never.
I was going to leave this as simply the idea of maybe the Oscars has not become the gauge of what the best movies out there or the most enjoyable movies out there are. In the same way that it was maybe 20 years ago. Yeah, also, the Oscars needs to catch the freak up and make itself available to stream.
Oh yeah.
Remember last year when we tried to watch the Oscars and tried to do a live reaction to that, and it was just an absolute penultimate disaster.
Yeah, there's another way they could open it up to the younger generation, because the younger generation streams everything. Hey, you're watching this on a stream.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyways. Yeah,
EDMG in the chat saying people still care who wins an Oscar.
hire younger voters. That's all I have to say. Anyways, yeah, video game movies probably never gonna happen.
The short answer is yes, EDMG. Not, I mean, like it's still the most prestigious award in the movie industry.
I still watch it.
You know, but you know, there's a much larger context, a much larger conversation that needs to take place not on the video game network about whether or not the Oscars are out of touch with mainstream society and mainstream viewership, because I would argue they are tremendously out of touch and have been for the better part of the last 15 years.
Absolutely.
And it's getting worse. But that is a conversation for the other day, or for another day on another channel.
So transitioning into an actual video game here. So just today, they announced Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the day, of course, that the new Tomb Raider movie comes out. I think they were, obviously this
Oh, yeah, that makes tremendous sense. You got a movie coming out, a lot of people's minds are on Tomb Raider or whatnot. Why not drop your game announcement? And the new Tomb Raider series
is good.
I have only enjoyed it.
This will be the third one of the
I have only enjoyed the new Tomb Raider series. I think it's exceptional. I think it's a lot of people are a little critical of the fact that it's kind of more on rails than a lot of new conventional games that are kind of, you know, warping into the...
But it suits the game, so it's fine.
Tomb Raider has always been that way.
Yeah, 2013 they released the first reboot of Tomb Raider. This is now Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the third in this series of new Tomb Raiders. I mean, the game looks good, but they were trying to pair it with the movie for promotional purposes. Do you think that the bad criticism of the movie will hurt sales of this game?
I don't, because I think I think at this point those two things are so segregated. You know, people will not see the movie and the movie will flop. But if Shadow of Tomb Raider turns out to be a dynamite game, people aren't going to be like, you know, video gamers whose main architect is playing good video games aren't going to be like, oh, well, this game appears to be an absolute knock it out of the park, like the series trilogy ender of the series, but I'm not going to play it because that movie was shitty.
Yeah, well, at least for the hardcore group, we will play it absolutely. But you think the people that may have picked up this game because of piqued interest in the movie, you know what I mean? There's always that. There's always a 5 to 10%.
There's one group of people that may be disappointed, and that is people who bought the game and then went to go see the movie, but if the game turns out to be really good, maybe that actually is a win for the game, because it's like it'll be this sort of indoctrination of like Tomb Raider is better experienced as a video game.
It's a game series.
Yeah. Maybe I would even postulate, if we're gonna go super meta right now, maybe they recognize that the movie's gonna get mediocre reviews and they want to be like, oh yeah, but it's still a video game. Look, we got a good video game here, and they can sort of like redeem the brand.
Kind of like you know, kicking it before it becomes a thing.
Right. It's kind of one of those things where they've got kind of like, you know, two plants growing right now. And if one of them withers and dies, the other one still can be strong. And if the movie turns out like whatever, the critics are stupid, and it turns out to be really good.
So what does that mean? You heard it here first. Knights of the Old Republic remake being announced the day that Solo comes out.
That wouldn't be bad, especially if it's common PR move to, you know, kind of like, ooh, look at this. I mean, that's PR. If it's anybody out there who has a degree in PR or studying in PR, it's literally just like, look at this, not that other thing. Look at this.
I mean, either way, bringing it back to a conversation from a few weeks ago again, I think that Disney is waiting to announce what they've done about the whole EA thing until maybe a little bit closer to Solo, because they probably have some good news, and they want that to, you know, they've had some bad press with Solo lately, of course, so they want to try to. But guys, look what we're doing. Like, we're taking it away from EA, or sharing the EA licensing with, like,
you know, my vote.
Bethesda, maybe. No, it'd probably be what Activision was the front
Activision would be great. I would love Activision Blizzard. My first choice still remains Bethesda, but you know, another conversation for another day.
Right. So we'll cover that when that actually happens. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we'll play it. It'll be a lot of fun. And this movie is trash.
I'm very confident. It's not trash. It's mediocre.
It's mediocre.
Let's reserve trash for things that are trash.
Okay. We'll reserve trash for 4.0s and below.
It's just uninteresting. All right. That's all good. But I would postulate, however, that Shadow of Tomb Raider is probably going to be pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because so far that series has been bang, bang. 2 in a row, really, really solid.
I'm going to take iJosh's question right here because it just piqued my interest. He says, I hope that the Old Republic doesn't shut down. Man, that's been going on since 2011?
2011, man.
It will shut down eventually.
It will, so long as that player base remains interesting. A shuffling of the licenses and the potential You know, like if they bring in a new Old Republic title, I would say maybe then that game's days are numbered. But in the meantime, it's kind of all that Star Wars fans have if you don't want to play Battlefront. So it's got a good market in that regard.
We've had
this weird shadow of a market that is like resentfully playing an MMO because nothing else is available.
We've had phases where we play it for a couple months, then we never play it for a couple years, then we play it for a couple months. It's an MMO, so it kind of has those waves.
It's a really good game.
It's great though. It's definitely one. I still think
it's very aged, and the paywall is BS. But if you sub and you get past all that other stuff, and you have some money to throw at it, it actually has an amazing experience that you know kind of to offer. I don't know. I guess let's move on. You want to talk about Soul Calibur?
No, but I just brings up another good point about the because the Old Republic is technically Legends. It just started before the Legends cutoff.
Right.
But guys, a lot of new Star Wars projects. Hey, tune into the Star Wars Network every Wednesday for Star Wars Hour. But yeah, Star Wars, dude, we're getting a new show. We're getting new movies from like everywhere. From Rian Johnson, new movies from the Game of Thrones guys.
If we get an Old Republic canon,
one of those is going to be Old Republic. That's what
I'm. If we get an Old Republic canon, make a game. Make a game right now. I don't care. Shut the MMO down.
I can almost guarantee that Old Republic will become canon very soon
or they will establish an Old Republic canon.
Yeah, it'll be slightly different, but they'll establish it soon because they would have, you know, Dave Filoni is allowed to bring in Black Sun cult to, you know, like Rebels.
Yeah, that's an Old Republic. You know? That's an Old Republic dig.
So I mean,
and then I obsessed about.
Whoa!
Oh, we got. I think that's a sub.
A sub. A sub.
Woo!
Thank you, sub.
Yeah, right, or maybe not. I don't know.
Or whatever that was. It was fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Sweet.
But I got a soundboard, guys. I also was somebody who was pointing out in Rogue One that they have the Hammerhead frigates. Which we saw, which is deep referential because they were originally made the appearance in Old Republic, and then Dave Filoni brought them into was it Clone Wars?
Rebels, I think he brought them.
Oh, Rebels, yeah, and then in the same ones in Rebels found their way into the continuity for
guys, especially, and I think that, you know, Dave Filoni has gotten some kind of silent promotion recently after Rebels ended. And I think that it's only a matter of time, guys. Old Republic will be canonized eventually,
which is fine. Dave Filoni can run Star Wars for all I'm concerned. I'm so happy with that dude's work.
Which means we're going to get an Old Republic game. I think they're going to remake KOTOR eventually.
That's great. KOTOR is best experienced as Knights of the Old Republic, plain and simple. So that's all good.
Absolutely. All right. Sir, do you want to go to Skyrim VR? Talk about the horse
did you skip Soul Calibur 6?
Oh, I didn't even... Oh, that's right. Okay.
I asked you if you wanted to...
Sorry, it's just the single...
We don't have too much to talk about Soul Calibur 6, but it's been getting a lot of press recently.
For two reasons.
Yeah, for two reasons.
Geralt from The Witcher 3.
Yeah, for starters, Geralt from The Witcher 3 is, as Richie just said, going to be the feature character in this. As if you're familiar with the Soul Calibur series, they often take a character from another game or another franchise.
Like Link was in Soul Calibur 3, I think, or 2.
Did we have Vader in one?
Yeah, Vader and Yoda. It was like we had Yoda on the Xbox version and Vader on the PlayStation version.
I like that. I like when they do that. I'm a little bit bummed that they were console specific Mostly because I didn't get to play as Vader, but whatever.
I had it on PlayStation, so Vader was boss.
Vader's great.
But yeah, Geralt, and I don't know if they're still going to do that with
Geralt's a natural addition to the Soul Calibur universe too. He just fits in there.
I hope that he'll be on all platforms. Is it coming to PC also?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Typically it doesn't.
Then I can't see any reason why not, that he wouldn't just be on all platforms.
Right. That's interesting.
However,
I think the platform specific stuff is kind of dying.
Yeah, I hope it does, actually.
Yeah,
except for like, there's some stuff that you can only do on Switch, obviously, for some reason. But
that's Nintendo, whatever.
But I hope that Nintendo keeps that exclusivity because that's what they got going for them. You know? So
that's kind of their business.
But yeah, Geralt's really awesome. But there is one big lingering issue that people are starting to have with this game, which really surprises me because they should really know better than to expect anything different from Soul Calibur. Garrett, what's going on?
Well, I don't want to like blow up a few fringe blogs that like have been really down on Soul Calibur, but there is some controversy surrounding a lot of the female outfits in the game. A lot of people kind of citing like the whole like it's 2018, could we not have like brazen waifu outfits and like huge anime titties, to use the technical term, I believe.
And boob physics.
Boob physics, yeah. People are particularly down on Ivy's character, who's always been kind of skimpy, and I think they were hoping for a revamp this time, but it's a Japanese company, and Japanese companies in general are like, no. We're going to do what we did before.
So it surprises me that they would expect any different. This series has always kept that standard, and also
there's a lot of consistency.
If it was an American game, I would maybe expect them to tone that down because of today's social climate. However, everyone has to remember this is a Japanese game.
Soul Calibur is Japanese to its core.
Xenoblade Chronicles was a Japanese game, and look at
it was Japanese to its core. Well, not it was fringe weird like otaku to its core.
There was skimpy outfits and boobs galore in that game.
Right.
My point is that the Japanese culture, especially when it comes to media, and you can see it in anime and other things in Japan, they are a little bit more excessive in their
the complete and overt sexualization of a lot of female characters. That one.
Yeah.
That one.
And as American, you can be like, I don't agree with that, or that's not PC or whatever, but they don't give two Fs over there in Japan because they're not really a part of our current social dilemma over here.
Yeah, different climate over there. Which is fine. I don't fault them for that. I'm consider myself
culture difference, guys.
Consider myself a pretty PC dude, but I don't know. That one I get. So,
yeah, but you wouldn't go over to like the Middle East and be like, you can't wear burqas anymore because that's not what I think you should do.
Because that would go over well.
I'm
not. I don't believe in culture policing. Yeah. That's why. But that's what I've seen so far in Soul Calibur. Seems it's less a question of is it reasonable or not reasonable, and more a question of is it consistent. And the question is it consistent? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's consistent. And all the characters, while people are not a big fan of their outfits, are not portrayed in a problematic way. I'm gonna go ahead and weigh in on the Soul Calibur is okay, we will survive side of this particular agreement. And again, I consider myself pretty socially progressive, so if that's just kind of my thoughts on the matter. I don't even know. I don't even think it's worth talking about that much. It's worth mentioning because you are gonna hear about it when Soul Calibur 6 drops.
It's definitely one of those things where I don't care about it either, but we're letting you guys know because there are people that care about these.
It is gonna be one of those. I mean, just when Soul Calibur 6 drops, I guess I should mention the fact that by all accounts, early accounts of the game show that it's exceptional. Yeah, early accounts of the game show that it is a fantastic fighter with beautiful physics, beautiful worlds, and a really, really complex and invocative like fighting engine.
Oh, absolutely. Soul Calibur's always had a pretty
I know, and they're just going to poised to knock it out of the park again, but we're going to see a big blitz of press associated with, like, why is that one girl still holding a whip chain sword and wearing only boob plates? It is what it is. That so I don't know. If you have objections or additions to that commentary, that's a complex issue. Please weigh in on chat, and I will happily digest this one because as with any issue pertaining around kind of social awareness, I think a lot of opinions are very important.
This is just one of those things where people are going to be divisive about it because everyone has a different opinion on what they think.
Right, and different expectations, and that whole like this is 2018, like that statement carries a lot of weight across a lot of elements. That's all I really have to say about Soul Calibur 6. Expect the controversy. It's there. It's a discussion that should happen. It probably will happen. Up to you to determine whether or not you think it's deserved given the context and, previous indications of the game. Because it is also a game that consistently portrays female characters in very heroic light.
That's true, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's, the half of a female cast, and they can kick anybody's butt.
Yeah, but people are worried about the outfits.
Right, so the outfits are going to be a thing. Meanwhile, the game is looking to be an excellent, fighting game by all accounts. So, we'll see what's on the horizon.
All right. Next, we are talking about the newest release of the same game, Skyrim VR for PC.
Are you all ready to dump $60 on Skyrim again?
On April 3rd.
On April 3rd.
Prepare your wallets. Yes, what feels like maybe the 10th
Unless you're on PlayStation 4, then you already had this choice to make.
That's true, but new additions, probably for the PC version.
Right.
And of course it's the PC version, so a lot of things go on that console command.
I talked quite a bit about, because I did get console commands in Fallout 4 VR. So
yeah,
that
console commands, you know, you get
and some mod support.
Yeah,
too.
mods support. Get on that Nexus, you know.
Yeah, that was all good. So.
But yeah, guys, how many times I really and guys, Skyrim. By the way, Skyrim, one of my favorite games of all time.
The penultimate Western RPG.
But can we please?
There's no better.
Can we please come out with something new?
Yeah, how many re-releases of Skyrim are we going to see? To be perfectly honest, we've seen several console re-releases. We've seen the remastered re-release. We've seen the Switch specific version. We've seen all of these versions in both base and remastered, as I mentioned before, in all different variations as far as the consoles are concerned.
All right, it's like it's like Street Fighter, you know, Super Street Fighter Turbo, Extreme Ultimate 2.
Yeah. We've seen
with Knuckles.
All of those things with on PC as well. I mean, we're looking at, like, I don't know, approaching 20 different versions of Skyrim. And if you have access to all these consoles and want to buy Skyrim for every single one of them, I mean, you're looking at, you know, spending almost, you know, next to $1,000 on Skyrim if you want all versions that have ever existed. Yeah. And now the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift, and similarly situated, you know, kind of third-party VR titles for PC are going to get an affirmative release for Skyrim VR. It's happening in April 3rd.
Good for Skyrim. I love Skyrim, but Bethesda, I hope you're watching. You're not. Please announce at E3 this year something
I'm
new.
really hoping for not Skyrim.
No, they're like, guys, we did it. Skyrim VR Extended Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, right. Like, no! Or Elder Scrolls Skyrim 2.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That would be like, I would still be excited because it's a new Bethesda game, but I would be like, oh my god, why?
That was the rumor for a little bit, is that they would just call it Skyrim 2 because now the Elder Scrolls Skyrim got so popular that it almost just like it just repopularized the franchise. But so many people are just referring to it's unbelievable how many people are like, are they going to make a Skyrim 2? It's like they're oblivious to the fact that Skyrim itself was the 5th of a series.
Yeah, the 5th of a very long-running, decades-old series at this point. So
but it's like when you get to that point again, you know, we talk about, you know, there was Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear 3 Solid, and then Metal Gear Solid 2. It's kind of like it's a similar thing where a game gets so popular that it overshadows what came before, and now that is the series. Do you think that Skyrim could be that for Elder Scrolls?
I mean, it's certainly the numbers speak for themselves. It's objectively the most successful Elder Scrolls. It's, as I mentioned, like objectively the most successful and well-known Western RPG. There's no debating what it has done for not only just like the modding community, for a lot of engagement, but here's a single-player game that has like rewritten history on the West's contribution to the RPG world. That's worth celebrating, and obviously there's no one in this house right now that doesn't love Skyrim.
Right.
Even my fiance, who doesn't really consider herself much of a gamer, sat down and enjoyed the crap out of Skyrim.
I mean, you know? Yeah, why can't we have just one remaster of New Vegas? Come on, Bethesda.
Yeah, right. He loves New Vegas, and he needs that remastered.
I want New Vegas with everything new from
New
Fallout
Vegas
4,
wasn't nearly the commercial success that Skyrim was. Not that anything has been. If we're looking at Skyrim's, you know,
Fallout 4 was also extremely successful.
Fallout 4 was very successful. But if we're gonna keep it situated around the VR world, Fallout 4 had a rocky VR launch.
Yeah, it did.
It was very buggy. The specifically the depth of field made it hard to play. I had Fallout 4 on launch day, and I can tell you what, I have never in my life needed glasses. I have never in my life needed contacts. I have never in my life had issues with eyesight. Everything else, that's another issue. But like eyesight in particular, I've been perfect. I didn't have to think hard about what it was like to live life as a person with like 21/32 vision. Until I put on that headset and tried to play Fallout 4 because the depth of field was so atrocious that I had to go into the INI files in the game install itself and make tweaks that front-loaded extra crap onto my video card in order to even play it and enjoy myself.
See, and that right there is why I think Bethesda took the extra time to come out with Skyrim VR, and like what they kind of premiered it on the PlayStation first, and then kind of tweaked it for PC.
Right, it's looking better, and also one other thing that kind of makes me it gives me, you know, pause about Skyrim VR is, as much as I ended up coming to really enjoy Fallout VR, I really never came to enjoy the melee combat. I had a hard time figuring out, like, I didn't find the way that the melee combat felt and whatnot. I didn't find it satisfying. I didn't particularly enjoy it in any way. So I kind of steered around it, and I would go out of my way to use the guns, because it's so cool to hold a gun in VR and, like, check down the iron sight and, like, knock a super mutant at 600 yards. Like, that's really neat. That's a super cool experience. But as soon as I would get up close and I had any sort of sword thing, the concept of, like, how they wanted you to move in the air to do a block motion, or where you wanted to strike on the model in order to strike, never, like, gave me good feedback. I felt like I was constantly guessing. So either they fixed that in Skyrim VR, or oh boy, howdy, do we have an issue.
Yeah, because that's like at least half.
Yeah,
of
because
Skyrim.
I'm not gonna. I'm sword and shield in Skyrim.
Magic, no magic. You don't use magic?
I have, like, a magic character, but really consistently I've always played sword and board builds in Elder Scrolls games.
Okay.
You know, I like magic and I like what it offers, but, like, man, sword and shield is like, I mean, maybe that's the martial artist in me. I just like the somatic of it. Like,
I typically have like my one-handed battle axe in the right hand and then some fire spell.
Oh, okay, so you cheese the shit out of it. That's cool. Yeah, that's not a bad way to play though. Magic in the game does look pretty good. I watched a few videos and it just seems like hold hand, press button, spell come. You know, that happens. So, that's cool. Anyway, I'm gonna wait on Skyrim VR. That's, I guess, that's what this all leads up to. I'm not going to buy it on release. I'm going to wait. I'm going to see. I'm going to probably give it a patch, and then maybe I'll check it out. And even then, I have to emotionally reconcile with dropping another $60 on Skyrim.
Yep.
Because that will put me over $200 into just Skyrim releases.
I mean, if I had VR, I would get it because I love Skyrim, but I don't, so it's a nice way to be like, well, not getting this.
Yeah, right.
I'll probably play it here when he gets it.
What about Dreamscape?
Ooh, Dreamscape. No one knows what that is.
No one knows what we're talking about. Sketches coming soon on the Rich Alvarez channel. Well, we spent a lot of time talking about that. Let me breeze through a few of the other topics.
Surviving Mars.
Yeah, Surviving Mars coming to PC today by the makers of Tropico. And it plays like a Tropico game, so keep that in mind. It's a new city building game, takes place on Mars, as you might imagine given the title, really about, you know, kind of establishing a survivable resource chain and whatnot. Brutal game, but to anybody in the chat who has ever experienced joys of city building games and wants something set in a really punishing environment, I compel you to go pick up Surviving Mars. I certainly will be, because I'm a huge sweaty nerd and I love turbo, nerdy, city building, archetypical, punishing. I'm running out of adjectives, but you get what you get my idea. I like playing city skylines and sim cities and just creating arbitrary difficulty for myself. So the idea of a city builder set on a planet without oxygen sounds great to me.
Or a Jurassic Park builder.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that too. I'm gonna wait for reviews. I don't know.
Yeah.
Project Genesis was a little weird. Let's talk about a topic that might actually... There's two topics that are actually going to take some time here. Vermintide 2. Something that I actually introduced you to just before the stream went live.
Correct.
So Vermintide 2, folks, anybody in the chat who really enjoyed Left 4 Dead or got a tremendous kick out of Left 4 Dead and its, you know, robust and very, very enjoyable co-op experience, please keep Vermintide 2 on your radar, because that's an important one. For anybody who isn't familiar with Vermintide 2, Vermintide 2 is kind of similar to the Left 4 Dead model. It's, you know, 4, I guess in this case 5 players in a co-op environment trying to survive a sequence of scripted challenges, much in the same way that Left 4 Dead was. It's very similar in that regard. But it's set in the fantasy Warhammer universe. So, the enemies are the rat people, Skaven, and you will play a, you know, kind of a big host of different sort of fantasy characters, you know, from casters to archers to swordsmen to all this sort of stuff. And yeah, I mean, basically this is going to be a modern, gutsied up for the visuals you would expect of a modern game, and in other ways, you know, that are significant, modernized as far as UI and responsiveness is concerned. Left 4 Dead modeled game in a kind of a grim, dark fantasy universe.
Yeah, it looks tight.
It looks great, and if I can get 1 or 2 friends to buy it, I'll probably buy it. This is a tough one because you're gonna want some friends to play with this one. So if you got, ask your buddies around and ask if they're gonna get Vermintide 2. If they're on the fence, talk them into it and get it yourself because some of the greatest co-op experiences ever are poised to come from games like that, and I have high hopes for Vermintide 2. Preliminary reviews from the early releases paint it very positively, so yeah. I recommend you check that out.
So we could probably do a Let's Play on this channel eventually if we get the group going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, getting everybody up on a brand new game is going to be, some work, but yeah, Vermintide has, co-op is a dying breed. Local co-op is a dying breed, particularly.
I just sold a ton of old video games so that I could invest more money into my current addiction, which is, funny enough, Magic the Gathering cards.
Magic the Gathering cards.
These guys had to bring that back into my life, so there that is. That's not at all.
Richie has an addictive gambling personality, and as a result, the rush of opening packs is always a robust experience when you're with Richard because the emotions run high, and it's a great time. Yeah, it's a great time. If you can talk your friends into gambling with you, you have more fun. I'll breeze through Attack on Titan 2. The Attack on Titan 2 video game came out. The consensus appears to be that it is an improvement on the Attack on Titan 1 video game, which was received on a kind of a mediocre basis. If you like Attack on Titan, love Attack on Titan, and are super, super rooted in that universe, check it out, because it sounds like the combat system is new and improved and feels good.
I enjoy the anime.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it hasn't really translated well to any other medium yet. Besides the games, too. I mean, if you get made a couple movies, they weren't good.
No, the live-action ones weren't terribly well-received, especially in international audiences, so that's a bummer. Right now, we're looking at about a 7.5, 7-ish, sort of review average on the few sites that we looked at for Attack on Titan.
I think IGN gave it a 7.8. They were like, they didn't want to commit to the half score.
They didn't want to, they were like, it's half of a half, you guys. It's half of a half. Which is weird when they do that. Moving on to a much better release from the makers of FTL, we have Into the Breach. If you ever played that FTL game, which was absolutely bonkers and super chronic, I would recommend you check it out. It's not only available for PC, but for iPhone and Android, I think, as well as iPad.
And it is the top-selling game this week, you should say, too.
Oh, yeah, right now. Although I will say that it was the top-selling Into the Breach, which, for context, is from the makers of FTL, which is a game that is very near and dear to my heart, was the top. It was just a little indie studio. It's a tiny little indie studio, and they were the top-selling Steam game for a good portion of this week. That was, however, until the Vermintide 2 pre-sales and release sales overtook it. So right now, Vermintide 2 is the top-selling game on Steam, which is worth mentioning. We also have... we've talked a lot about Far Cry 5 and a lot about Sea of Thieves, but it's worth mentioning that these guys are coming soon. We haven't had a lot of video game releases this year.
Yeah.
We haven't.
We got Sea of Thieves coming out in just, 5 days?
Yeah, Sea of Thieves is out on March 20th, which is, in 5 days.
And then Far Cry coming out on the 27th. These are all happening here pretty soon, guys.
So this is good. This year hasn't had a lot of action as far as big AAA releases are concerned, but finally we're getting 2. We got Sea of Thieves coming in less than a week, and Far Cry 2 coming in just about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
and side note, I really like Blood Dragon, that standalone game. If they do that again eventually, something like that, that'd be great. But what we got with Blood Dragon already was fine. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, right. Me and Rich were talking about before the stream started, about how much we enjoyed the Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon expansion, which is a standalone expansion and kind of a relic of the past now that DLC has taken over. Back when you could buy an expansion pack and play the campaign in its own volition, without having to own the base game. Will that come back? Who knows?
No loot boxes there.
Yeah, for sure, no loot boxes. But another gratuitously 1980s VHS ridiculous crapshoot like Blood Dragon.
Yeah,
I play the fuck out of it.
So, before we get into the topic that I know that Garrett is dying to talk about, why don't you guys start asking questions? Have your questions ready, because when he's done talking about this, we're going to answer some of your questions.
I actually don't have a ton to say, but I do really want to give...
You got to mention it, though.
I do really want to give a big shout-out to Iron Harvest. This is not going to... The reason I don't want to dwell on it too much, because a lot of you guys are not real-time strategy PC players. I know, I'm looking at the chat, and I know at least a few of you are. So, we won't spend a ton of time on it, but I need to talk about it. Maybe probably also because you're going to see a lot of Iron Harvest content on this channel. It's just the case. Me and D-Rock have already bought into the Kickstarter.
Yeah, you should say that it is a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah,
and it did reach its initial goal, like what, on the second day?
Second day. So it exceeded its second goal on the first day. So Iron Harvest is going to be independently produced. If you're filming, go check out the videos. Do yourself a favor and go. Even if you don't own a PC that can game or anything, just go do yourself a favor and go check out these cool cinematics that they've released for the trailers, because it's kind of a set in between World War I and World War II. Sort of world,
but
alternate history. It's a little more steampunk. There's big mechs running around, and super cool. They've created an insanely interesting looking universe in this with this motif, and the aesthetic is it's drool inducing. It's so cool. If anybody here has ever enjoyed the steampunk motif, go check out the Iron Harvest previews, because they've got a very tasteful kind of steampunk aesthetic that they've got going on right now.
Yeah. Expect like 24/7 coverage when this game comes out.
Yeah,
on this channel.
Mostly because me and D-Rock have bought into the pre-release and are completely in on the Kickstarter. We wanted to support this game. Also, it seems a lot of other people have as well, because their initial goal to produce the game was $500,000. They reached $380,000 by the conclusion of their first day on Kickstarter. Their first day on Kickstarter. At this particular point, which is less than 2 days, they've not only exceeded their goal, but they're at $558,000 for the Kickstarter, with over 7,000 people backing it, which is great. I mean, we've got a few, which is cool, because that means there's a few real big buck backers in there. I love it when rich people support indie projects.
Yeah, rich people support us here on the Video Game Network.
Oh man, if I ever win the lottery, I'm impulse buying. I'm going to Kickstarter. I'm impulse buying a whole bunch of ridiculous crap.
Oh my god.
He'll
get a bunch of money. He'll invest it in other people, not our projects.
Oh yeah, well, you would get some money too, Richard. Mostly because I'm going to recruit you to make some ridiculous movie that I came up with. And you'd be like, "Are you down for this project?" You'd be like, "I don't know." And I'd be like, "I'm financing it for $10,000.
Let's start tomorrow.
Yeah, you'd be like, "Oh, leave again." So Iron Harvest, and really just indie games in general with a lot of promise. Cool to see them getting the attention they deserve on the Kickstarter platform, which is, as many of you know, a little hit or miss with kind of the projects that get funded and what happens to them once they're funded. As it stands right now, we're well into the we were remarking earlier that it's interesting that the base game of this, without any stretch goals, is a single-player, story-driven, focused RTS.
Yeah, like multiplayer is like, what, 800,000 in or something?
A million.
800. It was 800 million?
No,
a million. Oh, sorry. The goal is a million.
Right.
Say, Jesus Christ. 800 million, guys. The biggest game of the century.
Yeah, right. $800 million. Weren't they talking about that they could theoretically produce, like, the Sword Art Online VR RPG for approaching that amount of money?
Bucks,
yeah, it'd be, like, somewhere in the neighborhood of, like, $1.8 billion to produce the game in that anime.
This is how rumors get started. I'm like, 800,000? No. Oh, you mean 800 million?
Yeah.
Wait,
like,
no
what?
way.
No.
What?
Oh, God. Then
$1 million to reach multiplayer, which is something that you would think that would be in the base game.
Well, netcode is a different animal. I support the idea that $1 million.
But what about local multiplayer? They didn't specify. They just says multiplayer.
Who plays local multiplayer?
I am guilty of local multiplayer.
Oh yeah, because we're a part of that breed of human beings that still like strap up our PCs and take them to our friend's house to do LAN parties.
Yeah, they don't really.
Yeah, anybody who's younger than 20 doesn't know what that's about.
They don't really make games for 30-year-olds, guys.
Yeah, right. Although now that we're just even though we're just entering into a point, a lot of us where we just have money for the first time, that's fine. Yeah, but looking at their stretch goals, we're looking at cinematic cutscenes, challenge maps, skirmish mode. The skirmish mode is the one I would have liked to see in the base game.
I forgot we have the stretch goals up here. I could have
I put it on my fourth monitor, Richard.
I could have also just looked up there to the stretch goals to see that is indeed $1 million goal for multiplayer.
Yeah. So that is what it is. Yeah, $1 million for multiplayer, a co-op campaign, co-op challenges, leagues in season, free DLC campaign coming around on the stretch goals. I don't know. We're 2 days in and we're over $500,000. So if this keeps up, and it won't keep up because generally the biggest donations you're gonna get are right out the gate. No. We might see some of this. We might see a good portion of these get unlocked. I'm weighing in. We got an email sent to the developer. We're waiting to see what they'll allow us to preview on this channel. So expect visuals for the Iron Harvest coming sometime soon.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be playing it with you guys day one if they give it to us for free.
Yeah, I know. Well, me and Derek have already paid money for it, so that's fine. You want to answer some questions?
All right. Yep. It is time to answer your live questions. So
I don't see a lot of questions in chat so far. So
but Archie Morning Cofferin gives an excellent one right here because Detective Pikachu, the Nintendo 3DS game, is finally coming to America. I actually forgot to mention this. The American trailer landed at some point during this last week, and for some reason was not on IGN's radar at all. But yeah, they are finally bringing this game. It is a game that came out in Japan, a year or two ago, and it sparked a little bit of controversy because now we have a Pikachu that fully speaks. And again, just to clarify for some of you that aren't as familiar with Pokemon, this is not Ash's Pikachu. This is not the Pikachu.
Totally different Pikachu.
Yeah, this is not the Pikachu we know from Smash
And this is not the first Pokemon we've seen talk.
No, Meowth has been able to talk since the very beginning of the anime.
Mewtwo talks with his brain.
But the controversy with Pikachu talking, Pikachu had a few words of English in the last Pokemon movie, and people were outraged.
Yeah, people were
they don't want to see Pikachu talk. But again, this is not Ash's Pikachu. Detective Pikachu is a completely different Pikachu,
right?
And he does fully speak. He knows how to speak, and
he learned English. He earned it.
Yeah. And this is, it's funny because...
I guess he learned Japanese and then it was dubbed.
Because Hollywood loved Detective Pikachu so much that they bought the rights to the movie before the English version of the game even came out.
Right.
And have already cast not Ryan, is it Ryan Reynolds?
It's Ryan Reynolds.
They've already cast Ryan Reynolds as the voice of Detective
Which
Pikachu
was a
before the
bold
movie.
choice and one that I wholly support.
Yeah, and
that sounds great.
And only now do we get the announcement that the game itself is coming to America. I was disappointed in the trailer to hear that they didn't also put Ryan Reynolds as the voice of Detective Pikachu in the game. I think that's a mistake.
Right.
But at least we're gonna finally be able to play this game, guys. Unless you're one of those cool kids that already hacked the Japanese one to play it on your computer. Well, good for you. But for most of us that don't do that sort of thing, although I've done that sort of thing in the past because, well, long story. Guess what, guys? We're all going to be able to play it pretty soon.
Don't admit to anything illegal on stream. Josh is going to have to clarify his question, which is, what is the name of that one with the Empress and that one guy again? I'm going to need more to work on for that.
I think he might be joking. I think he might.
Okay, fair enough. And George the Jedi is asking us if we are going to the 3rd season of BattleBots, which will be recording in Long Beach, California in early April.
Probably not.
I'm not, but that's because I'm still kind of in my probation period at work where I don't really get time off yet. So, yeah, working through that, won't be able to travel down. Would I, if I had the time off? Maybe. I'd think about it, for sure.
Gravedigger asks, what characters do you want to see in Smash for Switch? Oh boy, do you need to watch last week's episode.
Yeah, for starters, we will answer this question because we got a few minutes to talk about it. But Gravedigger, we talked about this for maybe 30 minutes, 35 minutes during the last stream. But we agreed, some of our big ones were we really wanted to see Castlevania represented.
Yeah, Simon Belmont.
Yeah, Simon Belmont was a big one for both of us.
Banjo-Kazooie for, like, I want Rare and Nintendo to
yeah, a lot of Rareware. If we can't get Banjo, then I'd be down with Ukulele.
Yeah, from Playtonic, yeah.
I wanted Shaq from Shaq Fu. I wanted the, what is it? The Toads from Battletoads. That was all good. Man, we got into some really, really deep-cut, self-referential crap last time. We were really, really selling hard on it. We want... Oh, Chrono. Chrono was a big one.
Yeah, Chrono. And, like, I want so much from Square because, you know, they teased us with Cloud as DLC for the last Smash game. I would love to see so many more characters from not only Final Fantasy, but, yeah, Chrono from Chrono Trigger. And I was talking about, like, Randy from Secret of Mana. Like, come on, get those characters in there. Characters, man.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we'll talk about that, but for sure, right now you could assume those three or whatnot. So that's all good. He says he wants Shadow.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, I'm assuming Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have been wondering because Sonic has been in the game since Brawl, and that's the only Sega character that they've put in. Capcom now has more characters in the game than Sega. Which is weird because Sega has a pretty good working relationship with Nintendo right now. Where's Tails? Where's Knuckles?
I wanted the Doctor.
Dr. Eggman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted him in there. I think he'd be a great Smash character. So that works. Okay. Josh has clarified, and I believe he is referring to the game Dishonored.
Oh, Dishonored.
Yeah.
Dishonored's good. I like Dishonored.
Dishonored was great. You know, solid, you know, not like revolutionary, but if you like stealth games and like, you know, like assassination games and whatnot, it's the closest thing anybody's ever come up with in terms of like an assassination simulator. So that's good. It's Dishonored series was tight. Is tight. I guess it's still out.
Josh says, I want classic Link in pants. Interesting. I think we're obviously going to get a lot of the Breath of the Wild stuff. You know,
yeah, I think this game is going to be very, very much about Breath of the Wild.
I personally believe...
Though he does wear pants in Breath of the Wild.
He certainly does. I believe it's going to be all of his different Breath of the Wild costumes and then the one classic costume as an alternative.
I want him in, like, the Hyrule armor. I want one of him in, like, the Ancient armor. I want another one of him in, like, the Zora armor. And then, like, a super classic, like, unapologetically old school Link, like, green cap armor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're at 1 hour. Garrett, do you see any other interesting questions you'd like to tackle in the comments? Maybe one more?
I do. So...
one more question, yeah.
For starters, Gravedigger wants to see Waluigi. I agree.
Oh, yeah, we were all about it.
Wholeheartedly. I'm all in on Waluigi.
That's a no-brainer.
In fact, it's a crime that Waluigi has not shown up in the game at this point. He is, at least amongst some of my friends, the favorite of the anti-Mario crew. So that's all good. George Jedi saying Revan, Darth Revan in Smash.
Yeah, that'll be the day if we get some Star Wars characters in there.
Yeah,
that would be.
That's a pretty big deep cut there. But you know what? Forget it. I'm on board. That's cool. Or really any Star Wars character would be great. They've already got the the beam swords in there. Maybe actual lightsabers. In fact, incorporating actual lightsabers into a Nintendo game would really make the stupid Mario lore easier.
If somehow Lucasfilm got involved with Smash, all the beam swords would just be lightsabers at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Crazy Hannah bringing up the same point she brought up last week about Undertale characters being an excellent addition to Switch. Also 100% on board with that. Loved that idea. What is it? Also Fawful. So that's all good. Let's see. Oh yeah, Archie asked a question. Thoughts on the Nintendo Labo?
Oh yeah, didn't we cover the Labo?
We did cover the Labo like many weeks ago, but I am all for the Labo. Well, I think it. I really think it's super dependent on developers jumping behind it and like creating content for the Labo, because if it just stays this basic 7-piece Nintendo set, it's not really gonna do anything. But I think the Labo is unique. I think the Labo is something different. I think the Labo is something I didn't expect in 1,000 years. And I love it. I love the concept of it. I think it's super interesting and very gratuitous display of some of Nintendo's cooler pieces of Switch technology. And I think really the biggest triumph of the Labo is it just shows how incredibly versatile the Switch can be.
Absolutely. If we can get more like tech demos like that and like, just have Nintendo continue to explore in, this new territory of gaming, I think that's great. They're trying real hard to stay away from VR with Switch.
I know, this is kind of like almost a VR VR thing in a weird way. But you know, that's not bad. I really like it because even VR hasn't come up with like the somatic interface thing like the Labo is preaching.
Yeah.
So that's really neat. Again, the Nintendo Labo's success will largely depend on does it take off? Do people enjoy it? Do people continue to produce content for it? If people are producing content for it and we're seeing variations of mini games coming out for the Labo, it'll do great. And I think it's super unique and gaming will benefit from it. But, you know, we're going to need more than just the initial content.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Obviously, this is one we didn't mention last week. Princess Daisy should be a playable character in Smash Bros.
Yeah.
She's not.
Yeah. Where's Jax?
She's out there. She's always been, well, she's been playable in, you know, Mario Kart recently, but
yeah.
we definitely want Daisy in Smash Bros. As well.
Yeah.
Daisy can fight, y'all.
Yeah, we established that in our own headcanon as produced by Stupid Mario Legacy, where Daisy where Daisy decides to take on Rathnar Prime in the full Triforce armor. So that's cool. Too bad there's no Stupid Mario. Yeah, we need moddable Smash Brothers so I can play Rathnar and in just the most narcissistic, like just become the best with Rathnar and just beat people. It's like, oh yeah, that's me.
All right, guys, I think that's really going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching Video Game Talk right here on the Video Game Network. Don't forget, if you are subscribed, that you've hit the bell to stay notified.
Yeah,
like
it's
this
really
video.
hard to get a hold of you guys otherwise.
Yeah,
even
if you don't want to watch this video again, please like and leave a comment, because the way that YouTube works is the more likes and comments that thinks that people like this video, let's show it off more. So make sure you're on top
even if
of
your
that
comment
stuff.
is just "this is a comment,"
yeah,
thumbs up. You've helped us, and I appreciate it. Even though it's transparent.
That's it. Yep.
Transparently such.
And don't forget to tell all your friends to subscribe right here to Video Game Network.
Subs are the biggest thing that'll help us right now, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks to everyone. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for us.
Yeah, we're gonna go film our next Video Game Network show right now. Stay tuned for that announcement. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Okay, goodbye.